we're going through a very tough situation where people have a lot of questions on their minds. Businesses are closed, schools are closed, borders are closed. Sometimes I don't think I should be repeating this because we all know about this. I have a friend who was supposed to be graduating this May, but he could not because school is closed. I was moving through Facebook and then I saw this man and they're writing something there and this is complaining, he's miserable, saying, you know, I'm going to die of a foreign disease when I've not even gone to the overseas. That's how much it is tough for us. Some people are asking questions. Where did this virus come from? Who invented this virus? A lot of questions on people's minds. But as Christians, where do we get the answers? I believe we get the answers from the Word of God. And so we'll walk together to the book of John, the Gospel according to John, chapter 9. Possibly if you must pause this video and read this chapter so we can pick this together. But as we read this chapter, for me, I see something, and this is what he's communicating. He's saying that God is at work. And how is God at work? God is at work even in suffering. So you read this chapter 9, but before that you see that Jesus has been testifying about himself in chapter 5, and so the religious leader plotting to kill him. In chapter 7, they send temple guards who are supposed to be apprehending him, but they couldn't because they come and they say, this man speaks. The way he speaks, we've not seen a man like him. And so in chapter 8, they go after him. They even want to stone him in the temple, but they couldn't because the time had not come. So now in chapter 9, he's just left them, and then as he's walking, he meets a blind man. This man, as we are seeing in chapter 9, is being blind from birth. And this causes questions in the minds of the disciples. But I so believe that even this blind man had questions. Because when they're asking, they're saying, is the man the one who sinned or the parents? This is how they looked at it as Jews. If there was a sin in someone, they believed that, if they're suffering, they believed that possibly you sinned or your parents. And Jesus is giving them an answer and is telling them none of them sinned, not the parents and not the man. But why is this happening? As you read, he tells them that in verse 3, that this happened so that the work of God may be displayed in the life of this man. And so he goes on in verse 4 and tries to show them why he's here. He's telling them that he's the light, as he had already told them in chapter 8, verse 12, that he's the light of the world. But it is so fascinating. How can the work of God be displayed in the blindness of a man? And this is to remind you. And this is to remind you that God is at work even in suffering. We see a story of Joseph when the brothers plotted to sell him or kill him, and then in the end, in chapter 50 of Genesis, they are before him and they are pleading with him not to punish them. And he's saying that you meant this for harm, but God meant it for good. And so as Christians, we also know that all that happens to us, as Romans chapter 8, verse 28, that all that happens is for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. I believe that God is at work even in this COVID-19. Even when your businesses are closed, even when you can't go to school anymore, even when, you have no food in your storehouses, I'm telling you, God is at work. And so we continue on and we see he starts his work. And this drives us to our last point, where he says that God is at work and can fix the problem. He starts his work in verse 5, and how does he start it? He gets to the ground, makes some mud with his saliva. And this paints a picture of creation in Genesis 2:7. We see that God creates man from dust and breathes in his nostrils. This is to show us that God created us from mud. And so because he created us, he can fix everything. Even through the Gospel of John, we see it painted that he's the creator. In John chapter 1, we see verse 1, they're saying that in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In verse 3, they're saying that everything is created through him. Even in the miracles that we see, they're painting it very clearly that God has authority over everything. In chapter 2, he turns water into wine. Can you imagine? In chapter 4, we are told that he heals the son of the nobleman, of the official. And how does he do it? It's just saying a word. He's just saying a word. And when the man goes home, he finds the son is already healed. We see in chapter 5 that he heals the paralytic. In chapter 6, he feeds the 5,000. In chapter 11, he's giving life to Lazarus, who had been dead. And now in chapter 9, it's not hard for him to fix the sight of this man because he's the creator of everything. And so I want to remind you, believer, that even in this calamity that we are going through, God has authority to fix this. And actually, he's sustaining us because you are still alive. Hebrews 1:3 says that he sustains the universe with his word, with the power of his word. So I want to tell you that it is him who is sustaining us. And he has something he's doing. He's doing something. But what was the response when this man got his sight? The neighbors, some didn't believe. Others believed and they had a desire to see Jesus, but they never saw him. The Pharisees, instead of fixing their eyes on Jesus, who healed the man, they fixed their eyes on the Sabbath day. They're saying he didn't keep the Sabbath. Instead of fixing their eyes on the man who is healed. And the parents, they fixed their eyes on the synagogue, not on the healing that their son had got, because they're fearing that they're going to lose the synagogue. I mean, the opportunity to be in the synagogue. They just say, you know what? He's old. He can speak for himself. That's how much we have so much, that's how much our eyes have been took off the main point. That even in this season, that people are not seeing God. People are seeing an opportunity to make money. People are seeing an opportunity, youth, to watch movies that you are not able to watch, to sleep much longer than you are not able to. But I want to ask you, believer, that don't allow this season to pass when you've not seen Jesus. Because the truth is, he's at work. And I have seen him work in my life. And I want to encourage you that if you've been walking with Jesus, and possibly you have questions like these disciples, God is at work. And even in suffering, he's at work. And if, you've been blinded by what is happening, I want to assure you that God can fix the problem. But as we've seen in the story, fixing the man's sight wasn't the main problem. Because even after his sight is fixed, he still has questions. The Pharisees are asking him, and he's telling them, I don't know. All I know, the man healed me. I don't know where he comes from. Meaning that he didn't understand who is Jesus. And when Jesus comes to him again, he says that, he asks him, do you believe? When this man believes, and he believes that Jesus is the Son of God, he receives the spiritual sight, which was the main problem. So the main problem is not the COVID-19, but the main problem is the sin in us. And I want to ask you that you won't allow these issues to blind you from seeing Jesus, because he wants to fix that problem of sin. Even if the COVID-19 is gone, things are not going to be, everything won't be all right if you don't have Jesus. Because he finished this in verse 39 saying that for judgment I came into the world, that those who don't see may see, and those who see may be made blind. And he says that in John 3:16, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. He didn't send his son, that's God, to condemn the world. But whoever has not believed him, he's already condemned. So truly the problem is not COVID-19. The problem is, have you seen Jesus? Bless you.
We'd like to encourage you to continue to be faithful in giving your tithes and offerings, and you can do this through mobile money, Airtel number 0706 38 2329, or MTN mobile money mobile number 0783 42 3973. And these accounts are in the names of Ann Nambogo, who's our accountant. You can also give your money banking on the Kampala Baptist Church account, which is 0341 212731. It is with ABSA, which is a former Barclays Bank, and it's a Kampala Road branch.